Hi guys, hope you've all been doing well. Welcome to my first battle report in a long time. Been getting used to the ninth age, which of course keeps on changing, but I suppose that's how it gets better, so can't complain too much there. Simple 1,000 point game here, Demons versus Dwarves. A very fast demon army against a dwarven army that focuses on a ranged attack and shooting, so not a good setup for the dwarves if we're honest, but there you go. Nat and I have been getting used to the ninth age rules. We're not 100% on them yet, so if you do spot anything that we've done wrong, then do leave us a friendly comment and, well, we can all do with some feedback, can't we? So anyway, here are two lists. I'm playing Demons. I've got a Herald of Lust with level 2 on the Law of Lust. I rolled Frenzied Hysteria, which gives me, well, any unit that I choose Frenzy, but they take D6 Strength 3 hits at the end of my turn if they do. And Mind Reaping, which is D6 Strength 4 hits, and then Leadership Test, or the same thing happens again. My Herald of Lust has also got Barbed Claws, so she gets +1 to wound. And she's got the Veil of Shadows, which is, I think, a really nice little item. It's -1 to hit her and her unit with shooting, and magic resistance 1. So obviously those sirens, toughness 3. They're basically demonic elves, aren't they? So they could do with a bit of protection. There's only 20 of them, so that I think is quite a nice item. 4 igniters, bit of chaff hunting there. Some mounted sirens. Only put the musician in there. No need for the standard. Nice new rule in the Demons book: elusive. They can flee. They're the only demonic unit that can, but that sort of opens up their usefulness a little bit. And then 3 crushers with a musician. Would have liked to have put a standard and a champion in that unit. Couldn't afford it. On the Dwarven side, Master Engineer with a great weapon and a Slayer Rocket. That Slayer Rocket's a big, powerful thing. Strength 8 with D something, D3, D6 wounds, I think. Multiple wounds of some sort, anyway. And then the BSB Thane there with a shield rune. Each of the 2 characters, you'll see in a moment, was placed in a unit of 10 crossbowmen. Those dwarven crossbowmen, of course, with their great weapons, so they're strength 5. And then 3 war machines, a bolt thrower, an organ gun. These new organ guns are just horrific. And a cannon. So, let's get on to it. So here we are in deployment. I will just point out, I forgot to put this on the list at the start. This here is a steam copter. A bit like the old gyrocopter, but not as good. So anyway, deployment then. You can see here Nat's cannon. This troll here is an organ gun, which is cleverly disguised. 2 units of crossbowmen with great weapons. The Master Engineer is in here. And the Thane with BSB is here. And then this is a bolt thrower. Again, cleverly disguised as a Skaven piece of artillery. On my side, up here on the flank are the 3 crushers. And then a unit of sirens with the herald in there. The 4 igniters are here. And the siren steeds are here. I made a bit of a mistake with my deployment. Should have put my flamers here. Igniters here, so they could have gone straight into the building. But I didn't, so it took them... So they had to march into the building. Now, Nat and I couldn't find the rules that used to exist that said you couldn't do that, so we did it. But if you know that marching into a building with skirmishers isn't allowed, then do please say so. So, there we are with deployment. Just 1 Vanguard here before we roll for first turn, and that's with the unit of sirens, siren steeds. Nat made a bit of a mistake, I think, though, early on, because Nat was able to determine who would deploy first. And if I'd have been him, based on the fact that his army is built to shoot and stand back, I would have deployed my whole army straight away so that I would, be guaranteed to get plus what would it be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, +5 or +6 on the roll for first turn, but Nat didn't. So I deployed my whole army prior to him putting down any models. If I've made a mistake there, again, please tell me. But that meant that I would go first, almost certainly. And so I did the Vanguard, and then we got onto movement. Onto movement that was, but my computer decided to cut me off for some reason. Don't know what that's about. Anyway, onto movement. So, not a lot very exciting happening here. My Seekers have come down the flank over the hill. Dwarven Crossbowmen, the crossbows have got the cumbersome special rule, so if Nat does turn to face me, then he's at -2 rather than -1, and obviously I don't want this unit being shot at because they are toughness 3 with a 6+ armor save and a 5+ ward save. They are pretty flimsy, so I'm trying to get these guys on the flank quickly. I'm thinking to take out this bolt thrower and then maybe overrun into the flank of this unit. I'm hoping Nat won't turn to face me. And as I said, the Flamers marched into this building. Again, if I've done that wrong, please tell me. I am thinking here that I can get into the building. I can count as being on this corner right here and possibly shoot this thing before it comes and bothers me on the side. These two units, just got to get them forward as quickly as possible. I know I've got the -1 thing here, so I'm expecting Nat to pump a lot of fire into this unit here. So they've just got to get into combat ASAP. There's no way all three are going to survive. I'm hoping one. I'm hoping 2. I'm expecting maybe 1, so we'll see how it goes. So here we are at the end of my turn 1. It's not been particularly exciting. Nothing has died. I cast... I attempted to cast my my D6 strength 4, what's it called? Reaping something. Mind Reaping. Attempted to cast that on this unit here, but Nat successfully dispelled. My Flamers got into the building and took 1 wound off this thing, of course. They've got rapid fire, long range, and it's behind a forest. So obviously it was a bit of a wishful thinking to think that I could take it down in one go, but at least they took a wound off it. And that's the end of my turn. Nothing particularly exciting. Okay, so here we are in the end of Nat's movement phase. If you thought my last turn was dull, then try this one. 1 model has moved, and it's the Steam Copter. Obviously, Nat's thinking to try and cause some trouble over here on the flank. If I'd been him, I might have thought about coming to bother this unit because the strength of this, I think it's only strength 3, but it hits with a template, so the Veil wouldn't have saved this unit. It's going to bounce off this, really. But there you go. That's the end of Nat's turn. I'm pleased to note that he is not turned to face me here, which means I'm going to be able to engage him on the flank later. And of course, the War Machine is, if it decides to pivot, I believe does so in the shooting phase rather than the movement phase. Tell me if I got that wrong. Okay, so this is us at the end of Nat's turn 1, and it's been a pretty good turn for Nat. Although this Steam Copter did nothing on the Crushers, he has done generally quite well. The cannon. Nat initially wanted to shoot the cannon at the Flamers. The Igniters in this building because he read the rules as they all get hit. Well, the cannon does D6 hits rather than 1 hit at its strength as per its profile. Now, what we weren't sure of, we couldn't find it in the rules, so if someone knows, then please tell us. What we weren't sure of was whether it hits 1, then the other, then the other, then the other, if he were to roll 4, or, anything other than 1, or whether it hit each model simultaneously. My view was that it would hit all 4 models, but not simultaneously. If he rolled a 4 on his number of hits. And then if it followed the profile rules, that would mean that it got the first one at strength 10, but then the second one at strength 5, and so on. So instead, Nat focused his cannon on the crushers, and between the cannon and the organ gun, 5 wounds were caused on the crushers. So we've got one model here down on 1 wound and only 1 model left on the full 3 wounds. The Veil worked nicely here. Only 2 sirens died from crossbow fire. Nat fired his big gun over here, the something rocket. I'll call it the big gun. But it missed. And then he fired his bolt thrower, also at this unit, also missed. So done quite a bit of damage over here. Little bit of damage over here. Question here about whether he could have hit the flamers simultaneously or whether it's one at a time, which is, of course, different from how many get hit. So if you do have any thoughts on that, please let us know. Okay, here we are at the end of my movement phase. So I've charged on the flank of this bolt thrower here. Of course, bolt thrower is a war machine. It has no flanks, I suppose, technically. So you can engage with it at any point you like. So I've chosen to engage with it here so that I'm able to overrun and go into the flank of this unit here. Flamers haven't left the building for 2 reasons. One is that there's a great big long list of rules governing exiting buildings, and I couldn't be bothered to read them, to be honest with you. And the second is, of course, that if I were to exit the building, then I would be susceptible to a lot more than D3+1 hits or D6 hits or whatever it is from the cannon, because I'd get shot to pieces by 20 crossbowmen. And these 2 units here are just getting forwards as quickly as they can. And that is the entirety of my movement phase. Right, here we are at the end of my turn. It's not been a particularly exciting turn again, but things are starting to come together for me a little bit. I only did 1 wound on the gyrocopter over here, or steamcopter, or whatever it's called now. And I was hoping for better because I did have a clear line of sight on it this time. So I was on 5s to hit it with 4d6 shots, but there you go. And of course I overran having wiped out the bolt thrower here, so this unit is now engaged on the flank. That's it really for my turn. Okay, here we are at the end of Nat's movement phase, and it has been another thriller with 1 model moving, and that of course is the steamcopter, which has landed in the forest. Nat didn't march, so he doesn't take dangerous terrain. I'm not entirely sure what I think about this. As far as I understand it, this contraption here is some sort of helicopter and therefore has lots of spinning blades. I'm not entirely sure that that should be able to land in a forest. It doesn't quite make sense to me because I don't know any helicopters that can. But there you go. That's it for Nat's movement phase. Okay, so this is the end of Nat's turn. I've been really lucky here. His steamcopter has misfired. Not that I was particularly scared of that. I didn't think it would do anything. But I've been really lucky against this cannon. Cannons in the current version of the 9th Age fire on ballistic skill. Interesting. And Nat missed. Simple as that. This organ gun took out the guy that was left, and this guy is now standing there by himself with a single wound left. But that is critical because he's going to be able to charge in here and slaughter these dwarven crews before they get a chance to attack him back. And he can make this distance quite easily. So that 1 wound remaining there is absolutely critical. Over here on the flank, I won combat. I'd got a charge, a flank, and a kill. Nat managed to get 1 kill back. But of course, Nat's steadfast. Now, I wasn't sure here whether I needed a 2nd rank to disrupt him anyway, but I don't think it matters because he's down to 4 on that back rank. But of course, he does have a full rank here. I don't. Therefore, he's steadfast. Or at least that's the way I understand it. If you think I'm wrong, please tell me. And so, anyway, Nat's steadfast on a rerollable leadership 9, and he passes, and then he reforms. So, I'm expecting a little bit of trouble here later, because these guys have all got great weapons. I'll need to hope that I roll well in order to kill a few of these before they get to me, but we'll see whether that would happen or not a little bit later. That's it. Okay, so on to my movement phase then. This unit's obviously still locked in combat, but the Crusher has made it into the organ gun. He's able to engage with it at this point, doesn't need to close the door because it doesn't have a template. And so he's able to hit that one, and then he'll run into the cannon later, I hope. And the Sirens have gone in against the 10 Dwarves here. If there were more Dwarves, this might be a problem. Because obviously these guys have got great weapons, but I've got 2 attacks per model on this front rank here. The Herald of Lust has got lightning reflexes, and she gives that to her unit as well. So she's hitting on 2s. They are hitting on 2s. She's strength 4, but she's got barbed claws, so she gets +1 to wound. So she is wounding on 3s. They are wounding on 4s. And because she's the general, they pick up an extra armor piercing. So they're armor piercing 2, which is going to hurt these guys. The Igniters have now moved out of the building because they're no longer in danger of getting peppered with crossbow fire. And that's going to mean that if necessary later, they can come and chase this thing if it moves over here. And that is the end of my movement phase. Sorry guys, one quick correction there. The Sirens are wounding the Dwarves on 5s, not 4s. Okay, so this is the end of my turn, and you can see it's been pretty brutal for Nat. In my magic phase, I managed to cast the Frenzy spell on this unit, giving them a few extra attacks, and that made all the difference against these Dwarves, who also rolled badly. So Nat's been a bit unlucky again, and that allowed me to place the Aspect on this unit here, just to make sure he had enough attacks to not get hit back. And so he was able to get through that organ gun and overrun into the cannon. The Dwarves took a bit of a hammering, really, from this unit. The Herald here caused 3 wounds by herself. The unit caused 4, so it took 7 wounds. She did issue a challenge, but the Engineer wasn't interested because, of course, he wasn't equipped for it. And the Dwarves broke from combat. And that was the end of my turn. Now, I should mention, I did promise to Nat that I would refer to his Master Engineer as a rat, which he definitely is because he's supposed to be a dwarf with pride and honour and a great big long beard, and he turned down a challenge in combat from my Herald of Lust. So there you go, Nat. Your Master Engineer here on in will be known as Ratty. End of his movement phase, of course, he basically didn't have a movement phase because everything was locked in combat. So the single crusher overran into the cannon, did the same thing to the cannon that it did to the organ crew. And the frenzy here helped out again. I was hitting him before he was hitting me. And he broke from combat, bizarrely. And I caught him. And that was the end of the game. So, what do I think about this game? Well, I think that organ guns are brutal. I did a lot of damage to my crushers. I think I rode my luck. I was lucky in this game. Nat's cannon missed, I think, once or twice. His bolt thrower missed. His doom rocket of death, terrible thing, missed. My Siren steeds beat a unit of dwarves in hand-to-hand combat when they were engaged on the front. Admittedly, the frenzy spell helped, but that was a bit peculiar. The only area that I wasn't really quite fortunate was with the effectiveness of my flamers. So I do kind of feel sorry for Nat at the end of the game. I think perhaps more than anything, the biggest factor in this game happened right at the start of it, when Nat didn't take the chance to guarantee himself the first turn, because he needed that to get all that shooting in. I think if he'd have done that and the dice had been a bit more sensible, then he might have had a chance of winning. Beyond that, pretty sort of standard game, fast army. I think I played my Seekers quite well, keeping them on the flank, hidden behind this hill, and then out of Nat's arc of sight. A few questions about the rules, so again, if you have spotted something that we've done wrong, please say so. But I'm quite happy with my army. I think the balance of it works quite well. It's fast, it's punchy, it's quite hard hitting. That veil of shadows is really important, just for keeping the shooting at bay when you've only got 20 core models that are toughness 3. And those lightning reflexes, that +1 to hit that my Herald gives to the unit, makes them really powerful when they've all got additional hand weapons and armor piercing too. I think Nat's going to take his army back to the drawing board. That Master Engineer didn't really help out very much with the shooting on the war machines. And I'm not really convinced that the cannon is as effective under the current edition as it might otherwise be in previous editions. Organ Gun was amazing. Not sure about those 2 infantry units. Perhaps a tad too small, even for a 1,000-point warband. But it was a good game. It was fun, and we explored a few rules with it. So all good at the end of the day. So anyway, guys, that's it. Small, short game. Thank you for watching. Do leave your comments, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.